Hi, before getting into this video, I recommend using the subtitles to better help you guys understand me. Days Gone came out in 2019 with a score of 71 on Metacritic, which is a mixed to average indication. The 71 might not sound bad at first, then you realize it was developed and published by Sony Entertainment themselves, making it a first-party exclusive. Sony's exclusives are usually measured to a different standard, as most of their games are polished, well-written, and highly acclaimed, something that Days Gone wasn't, as it released in a buggy state with mixed reviews and not so great written story. Some might say that if they haven't played this game since its launch, but that's not the case anymore. So in this review, I'll be listing off the good, the bad, and a bit of my personal opinion. The story is the most polarizing part of this game, as some claim it to be the worst part of the game and others state it's the best, while I land somewhere in the middle. The length of the main story is a big problem for the game because it moves at a really slow pace, sort of feeling like you're getting more content, feels more like you haven't accomplished anything, as you could be playing for hours and barely anything would happen throughout the story. If something does happen, it's so random and out of nowhere with little to no build up or foreshadowing. A more focused and shorter length story would have benefited this game a lot. Dialogue is another negative aspect of the story, as it's overly dramatic with the smallest questions turning into a life and death situation for no reason, with the voice actors also overselling it. Some of the characters also come across as stereotypical or just lacking depth, with most of the character development happening so late in the game it almost feels artificial. But even with all these mistakes, the story is still enjoyable to experience, as you can tell they put their heart and soul into it, and the faults are just that, faults. They weren't writing the story this way on purpose, so I would count the story as a positive point for the game, but its mystery and unique writing style being the main factor for it. The gameplay loop in Days Gone is really captivating, as it always puts you on the edge of your seat, especially while traveling. As you ride in the open world, there are many obstacles you face, one of the most important ones being the enemy ambushes, as it really challenges you to stay alert while exploring, which could be a downtime for most other games, but not in Days Gone. It also fits really well with the setting of the game being post-apocalyptic, as it really feels like you're surviving in a hostile environment while playing with the NPCs, as they're hunting and scavenging after you and your items, with traps like snipers being on the roofs of random buildings, trees, or just high places, and tripwires, which is a wire that is placed on the road. When triggered, it explodes, making the player take a lot of damage, and with the other NPCs jumping you afterward to finish the job. To make sure the ambushes don't feel predictable and boring, the developers made them dynamic. However, it does cause some problems, such as the traps sometimes spawning right in front of you, which really breaks immersion and makes it hard to dodge. As a whole, it's unique and great system I hope to see in other games. Out of all the first party PlayStation exclusive, this one looks the weakest, not in just terms of textures, resolution, but the overall presentation. The game looks blurry on my PC, even with the high setting turned on and having a 4080 graphic card. There's foliage shimmering with artifacts occurring every time when I move the camera, which doesn't help with the blurriness of the game. Facial animation and face rendering are another hiccup in the presentation department. The faces look really uncanny, especially Sarah herself, and the background characters looking like they're from a whole different game because of their low rendering models, which are common in other games as well, but not to the extent that's present in Days Gone. The bad facial animations makes it even worse, and there are also cutscenes which are really badly directed with no cohesive from one scene to another. Like, imagine if a character is talking about how thirsty they are, and then the screen turns to black, now with the character having a ball in their hand saying how glad they are to quench their thirst, with no indication to how they found the bowl of water. The open world is empty with nothing to do in it except the main story and side quests, which are designed all the same way. You go to someone, talk with them, get a quest, and then you go to the quest, fight some enemies, and you're done. That's all there is to it. To the mission design, it doesn't have puzzles, platforming, or anything else to break the repetitive design, though there are chase sequences and investigation sections, but sadly it's surface level with little to no depth, and they always finish with a combat segment. The open world also doesn't have any enemy camps to clear, mini games, or any unique collectibles. There's basically nothing to do in the open world, and it makes you wonder why is it even an open world game in the first place. This was the studio's first game, so smaller level based game would have been much better for the studio and the game, helping to make the game design more refined and less buggy. Even with the game's faults, I'll still recommend it because you can feel the developer's passion when into making it, and this game being old also makes it easier to recommend as it's much cheaper than newer games and also goes on sale frequently. Thank you for watching this video. Leaving a like, comment and subscribing would mean a lot.